All right, gods and goddesses in training, welcome back to the channel. It is Uncle Makara, all relations. Today we're talking about how do I speak to my own shadow? Okay, how do I speak to my own shadow? Of course, there's going to be a bit of a replay. Um, Let me just change the settings here on this so you guys can comment. Make sure that you read the disclaimer too, okay, before we get started. Make sure you follow the laws of your land, okay, and make sure that you are 18 and older, and make sure that you're responsible for everything. Okay, let's get started today. So listen up, guys. Okay, Uncle Mocker is about to drag your self-sabotaging ass out of the trenches and into the light. Okay, with this video today, because have you ever been right at the edge of a breakthrough, right? Like some career move, some health goal, some relationship leveling up, only to trip yourself up, only for self-sabotage to get in the way, right? Excuse this noise, guys. This is India, man. It's always noise like this. Everywhere we go, there are noises that will show. Oh, okay. Sharing this with the tribe and with the adepts, if anybody's available. I don't know. Most of our adepts are in Europe, which should be interesting. Okay, how to speak to your shadow, guys, okay? First of all, you have to give it an image. Give it a name and an image, okay? This is the most important thing for you to do. Once you call your shadow something, now it's an actual thing. Now it's not this vague amorphous concept, okay? And we are going to break it down, speaking about Carl Jung and so forth, okay? But really look at this, guys, okay? Have you ever been on the edge of a breakthrough? And then you procrastinate, you pick some dumb fight, right? You let one cheat day spiral into full relapse. Why do we keep getting in our own damn way? You know, I was thinking about this the other day. Yesterday, I was hitting some workouts, feeling clean, feeling like, you know, solar panel, but walking. Okay. However, momentum was real, man, right? My energy was up, my mood was better. But then out of nowhere, suddenly self-sabotage showed up. And I noticed it in the form of my shadow. So this is the thing, guys. Our shadow runs way deeper than we can ever think. Okay. Carl Jung was, I don't want you to think of him as a regular just psychologist or something. I want you to think of him as a mind alchemist. Okay. He wasn't some ivory tower shrink. He is the man who cracked the human psyche wide open. While Freud, you know, fixated on repressed urges and sexual urges and stuff like this, Jung saw the greater picture, the grand vision, and he mapped out the personal unconscious, your private baggage, and the collective unconscious, like myths, patterns, archetypes that we all share. That we all share. Okay. So he said, make the unconscious until you make the unconscious conscious. It will direct your life and you will call it fate, right? AKA your unprocessed shit that keeps running the show. That is your self-sabotage. So why do we self-sabotage? Okay. Are there anybody tuning in to this live? Hey, Champ Pack. What's good? Samba's here. Sweet, man. Guess it's just a dialogue for right now, Samba. There's no one live right now. But I thought, man, I gotta hop on, speak some truths about the shadow. So self-sabotage is not about lack of discipline. It's not about bad luck. It's not about laziness. It's not about any of that, man. It's what we learn from childhood of what is acceptable. What is acceptable, man? If it's unacceptable, it gets repressed down, right? If it's not acceptable in terms of society standards, we hide it, right? We hold on to it. So we say, oh, anger, oh, that's not allowed. I'm not allowed to get angry. Okay, we repress it. Vulnerability, oh, that's gonna get me hurt, right? I've tried that in the past. All right, I guess put some heart walls up. Ambition, that's kind of selfish, right? So we do this, we bury parts of these selves and we push them into the shadow. But the shadow doesn't die, it waits. The shadow does not die, it just waits. So when you start changing for the better, the disowned parts of you are actually freaking the fuck out, having a full-blown panic attack like, holy shit, he's going to leave us behind, right? So you've repressed your anger, now it leaks out in these weird passive-aggressive like moments with people. You've denied your ambition, you sabotage opportunities before they manifest. You've ignored your need for connection, and you wreck your relationships at the first sign of like deep, close intimacy with someone. But the shadow is an evil. It's trying to be seen, and yet we keep pushing it away, pushing it away. So how are you going to speak to something that's invisible, right? Because you refuse to own it, it forces away its way in more destructive, sabotaging ways. Okay. So here's some patterns that might sound very familiar. I've noticed this in myself too. Bro, I'm not like, um, immune to this. Okay. This happens, but I now have a leverage, a system, we call it Primal Sutra, to actually help ourselves get back into oneness, back into wholeness again. That's its whole point. Okay, that's the whole point, is to get back into wholeness, back into pure awareness, back into your own primordial nature, the primordial Om that you always were, the pre-conscious mind, the uncarved block that you always were. Okay, so number one is procrastination. Okay, you know what needs to be done, but your mind puts up every excuse in the book, man, every excuse in the book. It'll pull out like random rationalizations from third grade. It'll pull random moments of like betrayal. This is so fire. Thank you, bro. Like your mind puts up every wall to pend. Yeah, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. That's self-sabotage, bro. Because it's gonna take you a lot more willpower, right, to do it at the last minute. And so you're kind of like just dispelling your own energy, right? Through this procrastination. Next is self-medication. Hey, we've all done it. Any escape will do. Any fucking escape will do, right? Binge eating, porn, substances, scrolling, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. It's any escape, okay? Picking fights when things are stable, okay, relationship drama, sabotaging intimacy. Yeah, that's the shadow for sure. Okay, avoiding big moves, playing small, scared of success as much as failure. That's probably a career like belief thing, right? Like a self-limitation thing, or some kind of a perfectionism paradox and paralysis, right? Because you're never starting because you don't want to get it wrong, right? So if you see the pattern, right, where when you're about to level up and something slams in your brakes, that is self-sabotage, right? It's your shadow thinks that it's protecting you. That's the paradox. It thinks that it's actually protecting you because our self-sabotage was once a survival strategy. As a kid, hiding our emotions kept us safe, right? Dimming our light helped us to blend in and fit into social scenarios to avoid rejection. Avoiding risks meant that it kept us from disappointing others. But the problem is, my friends, you are not that kid anymore. But your unconscious doesn't know that. So it keeps running the same outdated survival script. So this is something that I actually tell myself, bro. I tell myself, you're running an outdated survival script right now. You're running an outdated survival script right now. And I just sit with that. And the ego has to humble itself, right? In that moment. It has to go, it has to do something. Because it's not in the present, it's trying to remain present. And if you had an emotionally distant parent, you might actually subconsciously think love is pain. So now every time someone gets really close, that you wreck it, not because you want to, but because your psyche thinks it's keeping you safe, actually. But it's not random failure is this internal war, right? A part of you wants this, a part of you doesn't want this. And if you keep carrying both of these bouquets of roses, right, your mind is going to get confused. You get split mind. You get indecisive. You get persona fatigue and things like this. So how do you break free? You don't kill it. You integrate the shadow. You catch yourself in the act, right? You observe the patterns and you get real honest with yourself. Where is it that you always sabotage yourself? What moments, right? Pinpoints it. What emotions or behaviors trigger you in others, right? Ryan G was getting hella triggered the other day. I told him he was going off, and I was just observing it. I was just observing it, melting it all back to source energy again. Of course, I wasn't trying to make him wrong for feeling what he felt. No, just holding space, even though I was kind of tired after the podcast. But besides that, I was, Ryan G, I was holding space for you. When do you shrink, play small? When do you avoid things, right? So self-awareness is your key. If you can name it, you can tame it. Okay? If you can name it, you can tame it. Whatever is mentionable is manageable, as Fred Rogers would say, right? So if you can write it down, it's something real now. Oh shit. If you name your shadow, oh, that's Fred. Now Fred is telling me, right? Now you have a distance. Now you have an externalization, a characterization, right? And you can keep talking back to this version of you, okay? And learning from it, actually. Because I've learned a lot of amazing things from my shadow, guys. So think of it like you're in a shopping cart, right? It's like you're just taking things from your unconscious that are really powerful. You're like, this tuna's kind of old, but I don't know, maybe I'll make something out of it. That's kind of shadow work in a sense, right? If you think about it, like this is a really interesting concept. I think it's just coming up for me right now. But what if you were shopping? What if you were shopping in your psyche, right? What if you were shopping in your psyche and you had to pick the right thoughts, the right emotions, the right belief systems? That's hella process. Well, I'll try some, right? Okay. So think of it like this, like there's good things in the supermarket and there's bad things, right? There's junk. Sometimes we resort to the junk as comfort foods. That's why they call it comfort foods, right? Because our ego is so familiar with it, and it was a self-sabotage pattern. That's why it's a comfort food. Holy shit, guys, I'm just realizing this. Um, you see, my guides are always revealing these things to me in like present time. So I have to like kind of stop and like reassess everything. But anyway, Jung, he developed this idea. It was called the active imagination. I think anybody who is not Asian, not Eastern, and it is in the West right now, you've got to use your own power of active imagination before you can get into a meditation. For us in the East, meditation is kind of easily adjustable more because it's something that we are taught and that we see in our culture and so forth, and people like doing rituals and stuff like this. So it's in our subconscious, but maybe even in the West, right? Like there's a lot of fusion of East and West in the West. Like, I'm not saying that, but for somebody who's just practicing delving into meditation, try active imagination. Actually, it's a really great way for you to talk to your own psyche, talk to your own shadow. Okay, it sounds crazy, but you gotta try it, man. Gotta try it. So picture your self-sabotaging behavior, okay? Maybe doom scrolling, okay? Now, the doom scroller version of me, I'll give him a name. I'll call him zombie. I'll call him something funny, man. You got to call him something funny because that takes power over the actual thing, right? The self-sabotage. So let's say doom scrolling, and we call him zombie zonk zonk or something like this, right? So every time the zombie zonk zonk is just like like in that doom scrolling phase, you just kind of give it a voice, right? On to the next reel. On to the next reel. On to the next reel. All right, zombie zonk zonk. Isn't that enough? On to the next one. I kind of want to see what it is. Okay, what is my algorithm showing me? All right, why does he sound like Yogi Bear? But anyway, you ask it, what are you trying to protect me from? Listen to it. You'd be shocked what comes up, right? I was definitely shocked when I spoke to my own shadows. I saw that my laziness was just a deep burnout. I saw that my fear of success was really a fear of rejection. Okay. So the shadow isn't your enemy. It just needs to be seen and heard. You just need to see that guy. You've been keeping him in a basement, right? Locked in. It's time to let him out. Time to let him play sometimes, right? Repression gives your shadow power. Integration weakens it. Okay. Own the disowned parts of you. The parts that you've disowned, you said that does not belong anymore. That's reprehensible, right? It's disgusting behavior. I want no part of it. You're creating more suppression, more rejection of parts of you, right? So if you denied your anger, you got to learn how to challenge and channel it constructively through assertion, through setting healthy boundaries, right? Through discipline. If you've suppressed your wildness, you need to find an outlet, some deep passion projects, some movement, some art. And if you've ignored your vulnerability, you need to start practicing authentically communicating. Bro, are you actually wanting to be like my friend and reach out to me right now? Or do you want to sell me something? Okay. Do you actually care for my well-being or do you just want to sell me some dumbass product? Okay. This is really key, man, right? To understand the communications and the energy lines that are coming at you because they will hijack you unconsciously. They're dead weight, man. They're like parasites in your mind. And when you remove people, when you remove negative energies, toxic energies, you notice the freedom that you feel. That freedom is fuel for you to put it into the life that you actually wish to create. Okay? So that's for you to transmute actually. So you don't fear failure, you fear transformation because true growth actually requires a death of your old excuses, right? A death of outdated survival strategies, a death of how the small you kept you safe, actually, right? I've realized this about my messy room. My ego hates that. That's why it fights it, right? Because I would go into my room and just kind of like when my parents would fight, I would just kind of lock myself in my room, man, you know? Growing up. And that was my solace. That was my safe haven, right? I could watch all the cartoons in the world, get lost in my own world, and completely escape from the present moment in my reality. And a lot of kids, they struggle with this, man. They get into a video game addiction or some pattern when they're really running from themselves. And it's sad to see, bro. Right? It's like they know it, but they're kind of still in it, right? It's like, fuck. Like, why do I keep staying in this loop of self-destruction? Right? Hey, drop a comment, man. What's your shadow been up to lately? That's a good one. Okay, what's your shadow been up to lately? Okay. My one's probably plotting some shit. Okay. What's your shadow or your ego done recently where you've been like, oh, come on now, right? There's lots of moments like that where you go, wait a second. Okay. So Jung's typology, the four functions, the four attitudes, okay, really powerful. Let me just share the screen here. I think this is a way better way to describe it. Let's just do it with a whiteboard, okay? For a little bit at least. All right. My phone sets me a reminder right now. Laugh out loud. Okay, phone. Do it with me, okay? Good. Okay, the first one is intuition. Okay, it's the fire of vision. All right. Notice this is a fourfold temple. This is the temple of elements within you. Each function represents an elemental force within you. So think of your intuition as sacred fire, okay? Then we have the sensation, okay, the raw experience of reality, the feelings that are very earthbound, your groundedness, okay? Your groundedness. Then, of course, we have the air element, okay, our thoughts, our thinking, right? And then finally, we have feeling, okay? And feeling is the deep ocean of values, emotion, connection, things like this, okay? The feeling. So we have our intuition, our sensation, our thinking, and our feeling. Now, how do you deploy these forces, whether you roll as an extrovert, outward focus, or introvert, inner world focus? Extroverted thinkers, they're system builders, emperors, so they're very logical, precise. Sometimes they're pretty ruthless too. The introverted feelers, you gotta be silent, but like you know that your soul burns things with intensity. So you gotta know that you don't need the world's validation, right? Your internal compass is enough. Extroverted sensors for both, fully plugged into reality, tactile masters of pleasure and action. Uh, I mean, the here and now is your kingdom, Bring yourself back into presence then. And the introverted intuitives like shamans, prophets, dreamers, hey man, you got to walk through realms unseen, right? And one of these functions runs your show, your dominant one, and supports it, which is your auxiliary. So a third is like a weird cousin or something. Like you don't really understand it, Tertiary, fourth. It's kind of buried in your shadow, right? This last function, your inferior function, is the key to unlocking your true self. So from childhood, we trade pieces. Okay, let's close this now. Okay. So from childhood, we trade pieces of ourselves to survive, right? So society conditions us. Maybe we were told thinking for ourselves was disrespectful. Maybe our emotions were shamed, so we shut them down. Maybe we learned to suppress our body's instincts and, live in our head. Maybe you started wearing a mask. I mean, Jung called this the persona, the fake self that you project to fit in. But deep down, your shadow is just watching and waiting, right? It isn't your darkness, it's your unrealized potential. The rage you suppress could be the fire of your leadership. The doubt that, you drown in distractions, maybe it holds a key to your deeper wisdom. So individuation, he called it, was the path to wholeness again, about reclaiming all the lost pieces. Okay. So it's almost like parts, we're bringing all parts of you back into oneness and wholeness again, not to disown any part of myself. So your inferior function is like that ancient dragon guarding a treasure. It's weak, it's childish, it's messy, but it's also the bridge to your unconscious and your full potential. So Jung said that the anima for men or animus for women carries this function. Okay. So it's the contrasexual, the fantasies, the mysterious opposite force inside of you that's a gateway to yourself. So if you've got more dominant thinking, your inferior function is feeling. You struggle with emotions. If you've got dominant intuition, your inferior function is sensation. So you neglect the physical world, but grounding yourself will unlock your real mastery. If you've got dominant sensation, your inferior function is intuition. So you may dismiss visionaries, you might not open up to the unknown. That can transform you. If you've got dominant feeling, your inferior function is thinking. You resist cold logic, and embracing it may actually sharpen your wisdom. So the trick is just to integrate it, right? Because your greatest weakness is also your untapped power. That's the gift of this. It's like your traumas or your triumphs, right? The things that are bad that have happened to you are treasures. It's how you alchemize it that's really going to make you understand this thing, right? So your hidden opponent. So You thought just one function was causing you trouble, but your shadow runs 4 hidden functions that sabotage you at once. So there's the hero, the dominant function, which is your strength. Then there's the parent, which is your nurturer. Okay, wait, we got to write this out, man. This is too complicated. Okay, let me just show you guys. Just be much easier. Okay. So we have the hero, which is dominant function, your strength, right? Where you shine. Then you have the parent, your nurturer inside you. It guides you and others. It works as a mom or a dad, right? The eternal child, your inner youth, your inner child, okay, whatever you want to name it, playful, naive, but creative. And your animus and anima, your inferior function, your soul bridge. Though it's the weakest, it's also the most important, okay? Because beneath these 4 functions lurk in the shadow, the opposite, the opposing personality. So the rebel, the defiant one, that's one that sabotages my hero, I notice when he's threatened. Okay. The witch, okay. The inner critic, the 6th function, shames and restricts you. The trickster, the joker, the mind twister, makes you doubt yourself. The demon, your ultimate self-saboteur, right? It becomes your daimon. Eventually, your demon should become your daimon. Okay. This is really what needs to happen because we all have one main one, right, that runs us, which is our 8th function. But if we transform it into one of our highest guides as a daimon, like how I've done this is I've combined 3 different beings through one demonic egregore, and I've kind of captured it like a Pokeball in a sense, right? So now I understand it, and I notice it can be my greatest fuel too. So when you confront your shadow, you will project it onto the world. So that person you hate probably reflects in your disowned function. Okay. So what's the end game for you? Integration, right? You don't eliminate the shadow, you befriend it. You don't conquer the inferior function, you nurture the inferior function. You don't kill the demon, you transform it into a guide, a guard dog of sorts. So when you own all your parts, you become whole, right? That's that feeling, that's that true power, the blossoming or the flowering of your human consciousness is not in being perfect, okay? It's in being whole, all right? It's in being well integrated. All right, someone says you don't sleep either, time frame depending on where you are, suffering mental breakdown, my dude, from that laughter, I'd say yes, is it true? Impulse. The fire in our leadership, some of us are sheep, dude. You are who you are, I beg to disagree. Someone, your name says it all, man. Your name says it all. You have 0 profile picture, and you're clearly insecure about certain things, bro. It's okay. That's your shadow. You know what I mean? Appreciate your work, Spirit Brothers. Thank you, Stanley. Appreciate you. What's up? Let's get it. Own any gold? Yep. Also, I drink colloidal gold. Slurp, slurp. Okay. Let's get it. Upward Spiral Gang. Might we never be the same again. Let's get it today. Uh, I'm laughing at all these text messages. They're ridiculous. All right, let's get it. Upward Spiral Gang. May we never be the same again, guys. Let's win. Let's win. Let's go. Let's go. Man, there's nothing holding back our golden shadows from now. Coming through with the mainframe, the main intelligence, the sovereign energy inside all of us. You know what that is, man. Just gotta own it. Just gotta claim it. Bring it down, right? Bask in the golden path of the Christ path, man. Let it infuse within your holy being. Let's get it, okay? We are the bodhisattvas. We have returned, and we are not staying silent. We are not staying in our own little cages. We are here to expand and cause massive ripples. Okay? Which is why I look like I'm from Westworld right now. Okay? Let's get it. Upward spiral gang. May we never be the same again. Let's get it. Upward spiral. Let's go.